Hi everyone, welcome to another In Conversation with ASI. Today I am joined by Perth-based stylist Jessie Jolly. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Claire.
So welcome. I know that some of our stylists actually reached out to us and said that they'd love to hear from you. So I'm really excited to be able to record this with you today. For those who aren't familiar with you, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do in the styling world?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I'm here in Perth. I have a really strong focus in my styling with personal styling with one-on-one clients. That was always so important to me. And I knew that that's where I wanted to start because I come from plus size fashion. So I'd been 3 years working in plus size store and helping women, and I was 40 kilos heavier. And so that sort of confidence building and really wanting to connect with people and show them just how amazing they can feel from making themselves feel good from the inside out just by dressing how they want to dress every day led me into my personal styling journey. And it's been quite a journey. I thought I would always sort of have that focus on transformations within plus size and people who were losing weight and gaining weight. That's where I always thought I would niche, but this business has taken me on its own sort of journey, and I think it's been amazing because every client that I've got to work with, I've learned from them and seen them grow, which has helped me grow me and my brand and my business along the way.
That's so cool. Is there something that comes to mind? Because I know that like diversity in the industry is so important right now. There's a lot of conversations happening around particularly size diversity through marketing campaigns and things, and that feeling that every shape and size is represented. Is there something that comes to mind to you from working in that sort of retail capacity that you're noticing is finally starting to change in the industry that excites you?
Do you know, it is. I mean, I was looking at the recent campaign for Witchery just the other day. I was doing some research for a client. And for the first time in a really long time, I noticed that their model was a size 10 approximately. And she had arms that looked what I would call a bit more normal, rather than that really slim figure. And so although that's not just on plus size, it's starting to come through in other brands and their campaigns. I'm definitely noticing like diversity on skin color as well, which is amazing. I still think we have a long way to go though. Like in store, the size ranges still aren't where they need to be, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And even just the way that they cut the clothes as well, Claire, like for those who don't know, often when we get clothes cut and the designer decides to grow the sizing, they'll still start at a size 8 when it goes through to a size 16, which means it doesn't necessarily allow for bust and bums and all of those things like it necessarily should, which is why plus size clothing is great because they cut from a size 16 usually and then grow from there.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. In fact, I've had so many clients say, I love that, but it's feeling tight across even the arms and shoulders. And yeah, it's so interesting to see how while brands are sort of trying to broaden their ranges in terms of sizing, that's still an issue. It's like, where are we going wrong with training these designers in these schools to actually know how it needs to come together? It's really interesting.
It is interesting. And I think there's still some designers that are coming through that are trying to break the mold. But again, unless we're supporting local and we know about them, then it's hard to really get their name out there. I've seen 3 really beautiful brands since I started my business that I thought would go really well, and they've all crashed because they couldn't get their name out there.
It's interesting. I remember listening to a podcast on business of fashion. There's a brand in the US. I'm going to have to double check the name, but they're all about that inclusive sizing. I think they go from a US 4 to like a US 40 or something like that. It's pretty huge. And the founder of that was saying that a lot of reasons that those plus size brands or brands that want to break into a plus size range fail is because they don't market it properly. They hide it in a corner of the store and they don't push it on social media. And then they say that people weren't buying it. It's like, well, no one knew. So
Yeah.
it's like this double-edged sword in the industry that people want to keep it a secret, but actually that's what people are screaming out for. So interesting.
It is. I was talking to a girl, she does like merchandising in shopping centres just the other day. And she said, you know, they're screaming out saying that they want more plus size clothes featured, but no one will get them a plus size mannequin to put said clothes on. So yeah, we're getting there though. We're going to get
Yeah, at least we're having the conversation, because years ago we like people wouldn't have even have wanted to listen to it. So
No, I know exactly. And just the fact that there's so many more influencers online showcasing all different body shapes as well, and how those clothes can fit and normalize that is just amazing that we're getting there.
yeah, it's so cool. You mentioned obviously that you did have that time in retail. Is that where you've always sort of worked, or has there been other career trajectories for Jessie? And what was the tipping point to sort of merge into styling? What did that landscape look like?
So I don't come from a fashion background at all. It's really funny that you mentioned that. My mum gives me so much stick about the fact that I'm in fashion because I was so daggy growing up. But I also credit her to so much because she's an artist. So I think the way that I can pull clothes together and that creative sort of viewpoint is hugely thanks to her, and just knowing how to break rules, because she's like, love my mum, but she's an artist rule breaker. So she doesn't stick to the rules ever with how you're meant to do a painting. So I've had a huge background of varying things, but I did a lot of time in mining admin, and I met my now husband. I became a stay-at-home stepmom. I put on so much weight and just really lost myself. So I didn't know how to dress, and I lost a lot of my confidence. And I remember him coming home and telling me that we need to go to a Christmas party. And I was just daunted. You know, that feeling of you've put on weight, you don't want to spend money on nice clothes. Like I already was just dressing myself in Kmart stuff because I didn't know how to dress my body at the time. And so that's when my girlfriend said, go check out this store. And I was so overwhelmed that I had to go to a plus size shop. I think I was about a size 16, 18 at the time. And I went in there, and for the first time, every single thing fit and it looked amazing. And I couldn't choose what I wanted to wear. So I purchased half the store, came home, and I said, I think I'm just going to go get a job there. That's how that's going to go down. And 2 weeks later, I was working there, and I just loved it. I just loved it because I transformed through that as well, the way that I saw myself and the effort that I put in. And I started to see myself in this new light. Like I actually saw that I was beautiful and that I could be who I wanted to be and that I was worthy. And so I guess working in that store, there were so many moments where I could have that with the customers that would come in, but I just saw that there was that gap. You know, there were a whole range of other stores that they needed to go to get the shoes and to get the jewelry and the makeup. And, oh, do you know what? Like, you know, there's another store down there and that top would go great with that skirt. And so being able to piece all of that together, I felt really stuck after a while, just being able to help them in this one store. And so, yeah, personal styling started to just creep into my head as an option, which is what led me to Australian Style Institute.
Yeah. When did you do your course, out of curiosity?
It was beginning 2019.
Yeah.
I
So
was looking at the course from 2018, umming and ahhing, but yeah, 2019.
Yeah. What was the decision maker? Like, what actually, do you remember that moment where you thought, nah, it's just got to happen?
It was crazy. We'd moved house. So we'd moved into this house that I'm in now. I had just lost 10 kilos and I was starting to not be able to fit into the clothes in the store that I was working in. And it was just, I came home, I was like, it's not going to work. Like me working there trying to sell these clothes that I don't fit anymore. It's not working. And that was it. I reached out to a girlfriend, and another girl had done the course. And I went and had a coffee with her. And I think I'd already made my mind up, Claire, before I had that coffee, but I just needed that one person to tell me, you know what, if it's in your heart, go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how sometimes we need that sort of second opinion. And I guess that's kind of what we do as stylists. It's like giving someone permission to step into that version of who they are.
Yeah, I think so. That's a really nice way to put it as well. I like that.
Yeah. So cool. I'm curious in terms of, because like you've had your business since 2019 and doing the course, has there been moments, because often, and we were talking about this before we hit record on this session, was that, you know, sometimes in the beginning of that journey, you look at people and you're like, how am I going to achieve that kind of success? I've got to go out there and do it all. And now you're in that position where I know some of our stylists look to you as that inspiring person. But
Aww.
along the way, was there a moment when you were like, nah, it's too hard, I've got to throw it in? And how did you sort of push past that barrier?
Yeah, so it's so funny that you asked me that question, because I was having this chat just the other day. It is, so obviously COVID hit last year. It got really tough. Like, I think the one thing that got me through was that I like watching TikTok, and I have a really lame sense of humor, which led me to making quite lame, but for me, fun and expressive videos.
Yeah.
But that wasn't getting me any clients. And so I think it was about this time last year, I went to a networking event, just a really core group of women. There were about 5 of us there. And we were all talking about our businesses, and just one question prod too many led to me being in tears, because I was just on the verge of quitting, like, and leaving it. I'd looked online on Seek to work out what my next move would be. You know, it's hard to have a business when you're not making any money but still calling it a business.
Yeah.
So it was really tough. That group of women were so supportive. I had one come check in on me the next day. One of them has become a really beautiful and close friend who checks in on me regularly, and we catch up a coffee. And I just think having a good support network of other business owners who can understand that moment is really important, and that changed everything. And I think if you haven't had that moment, I don't know, I think every really successful business person I've met now has had that moment of, I just can't do it anymore. And then you pick your ass up and you make it happen, you know?
Yeah.
And since then, you know, it was tough, but I'm so glad I did, because about a month after that, because I'd obviously changed my mindset, I was ramping up my campaigning and advertising, and we'd come out of lockdown, and straight up, I sold 3 of my top package 3 days in a row. 1, 2, 3. And I remember just thinking, thank goodness I didn't give up on all of this. And that's what re-sparked it for me. I got that fire in my belly again, and I was ready to go.
That's so cool. In terms of, like, I guess your strategies when it comes to marketing, is there any tips that you could give someone else who might be in the same situation that might help them overcome a similar thing?
For me, it's always been that balance of showing who I am personally. I think when I started the business, I saw all these gorgeous stylists, and I love our crew of stylists, but we can get caught in the comparisonitis, right? And I even struggled with my style as a stylist coming into that, because I thought there was a way we had to dress as a personal stylist, and I was trying to be that. So I think just really coming true to your essence and who you are, and showcasing some of that online, and allowing people to connect with you, especially if you're looking at doing personal styling. The people need to be able to connect with who you are and know that you're going to be able to nurture them along the way. So showcasing who you are, but also your knowledge and what you can actually teach them as well is so important. And I think that's what continually gets me clients again and again, because then I get that word of mouth, and then that continues. So then I've got an influx of word of mouth and new clients continually rolling in.
That's awesome. And I think you do that so beautifully across your socials, actually, is that sharing just enough of you and your personality and what you stand for that will connect with that client audience that you're trying to reach. How do you balance between, you know, how much to give away and how much to hold back?
Yeah, so there's some things that are just a bit of a no-go. Like, how would I put this? I was talking to a really good friend of mine the other day, and I'll share this with you, Claire. Like, every relationship has their ups and downs, right? And so she was having some ups and downs. And I said to her, oh, babe, look, don't think it's all been smooth sailing here. You know, we've got kids, there's always stuff going on. And she goes, oh, you'd never know from your social media. And I was like, yeah, but hun, it's a styling social media. So I'm not going to be sharing stuff about my marriage and my kids not picking up their crap off the ground in the mornings and being frustrated. So for me, I share things that I think, like, my target audience is women. So I do choose things that I know that other women can help connect with. And some of that's been a bit of a journey. So, you know, I had one event last year where I ended up sharing some stuff which was really personal in regards to an ex putting up photos of me online several years prior, but then chose to stalk me. And so because of that, I felt like my business was threatened essentially. And that's the only reason why I chose to talk about that online, just to highlight it, just to get it out there so that I could keep moving and being myself online. And that has really helped me connect with a whole new audience of domestic violence survivors and people who are advocating for domestic abuse as well. But I wouldn't suggest just bringing up all of your dirt if it doesn't align and if you don't need to. So it can be a fine line, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's just those things that people can get to know you, like if you've got a weight loss journey, or if you're a new mum, or if you've struggled with things like that. People want to know you and what you have struggled with so that they can feel like someone else understands them.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful way to put that. And part of me thinks as well, with you sharing those intimate details about that experience, it's almost like you control the narrative as well. There's a little bit of like, I can take some power back here by sharing my version of events. And I commend you for that, because that's not always easy to put that sort of information out into the world. And I think from what I know of you and from what I've followed on your socials is that it makes me even connect with you. And I'm very fortunate that I haven't had to experience that, but it definitely connects with me on a level that I'm like, I mean, as a stylist, we're all empaths, aren't we? So we really, you know, connect on that level. And I think I'm really grateful that it's connected with that kind of audience for you, and that's driving a big part of your business. And, you know, well done.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Do you know that part? I had so much anxiety around it, and I spoke to a couple of PR agencies just to really get that second opinion. And I had a mail from a PR agency being like, no, do not discuss this. If any images come up, we will go into like retrieval mode and get them taken down. And I spoken to a woman in PR, and she was like, it is time to take your power back. Let's do this. I will support you 100% of the way. And we did it in a really beautiful way that felt authentic to me, with a proper strategy. So yeah, if anyone's thinking about sharing a story like that, just do it after the fact, have a breather and have a strategy around it, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That's an incredible message to share as well, that you did, you know, and how interesting that, you know, the female male perspective on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go deep diving into that sort of conversation right now, but I don't think we need to. But I'm sure that having that strategy in place as well, yeah, it's just helped build that client base in a way that is natural, authentic, but also, I guess, probably serves you in a way that you can give back to people as well.
It's been incredible. And even just opportunities that aren't styling opportunities have come from that, which I guess nurture back into me being able to give back to other people as well. And that feedback loop that fills your cup is really important. So it's been amazing.
I love that. When it does come to your business, who would you say has sort of been that rock and support network for you since you started?
It's been like a wild one. I think my husband has been on board 100% since day one, and he's just so encouraging. And I think sometimes he would see the strength in me to run a business that I didn't know that I was fully capable of doing. I mean, running a business is more than just going out there and styling a couple of clients like I thought it was going to be. I remember someone told me it's the ultimate personal development tool. It really is, because it shows you all of your things that you're not so great at, and you have to look at it, overcome it, and all those mental blocks as well.
Yeah.
But I have had a really beautiful, supportive group of girlfriends as well. And they are friends who have run their own businesses or do run their own businesses as well. So I've had 3 from the beginning, and one of them helps local Perth designers create their clothes. So she's already in the industry, and she's just been a light, essentially. You know, when I was looking at giving up, she was like, no, and hauling me to events and making me go back and network. So I've been really fortunate.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think, having those people who have experienced highs and lows of business ownership is important. And, that's something that I definitely see in our community, is that there's that level of support, and people in the industry as a whole. And, having that friend who's already there, it's like a little tool in your tool belt that you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, exactly. And there's been crew from even when I did my course initially with ASI that I've stayed in touch with online. And that's so nice as well, when you come up to a stumbling block and you can reach out, or when you finally have a win and they're cheering you on, especially on those first few steps after your course. Like, that's meant the world to me.
Yeah, I love that. So cool. In terms of success in your business, how do you measure that, and what does it look like to you in the future?
Oh, good question. How do I measure it? I think just those growth phases. I'm always trying to set mini goals for where I want my business to be and how many clients I'm prepared to take on a week. And when I get to the point where I'm getting that word of mouth, that was a huge milestone. So once I reached the point where word of mouth was getting me 30% of my business, I was like, whew, okay, I'm doing a good job. That's fantastic. Probably don't celebrate the wins as much as I probably should, Claire, to be honest. But yeah, it's got to a point now where I think the last 3 months have been fully booked, and I've been opening up more spaces than I initially intended to when I started this business as well. So for the future and how that's all going to run, I'm at the moment reinvesting back in and just making my systems set up and looking at a VA in the next 6 months, just so everything can streamline a lot smoother.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like 30% of your business word of mouth, like that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I really I hope that you celebrate that more than what, the way
I
that
probably
you said
don't.
that, it's just like, oh yeah, 30% of my business. Yeah. It's like, no, that's huge. Like, well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
Is there, I guess, so do they come through then via sort of like Instagram DMs or emails through the website? How do those people who from word of mouth get in touch with you?
So a lot of them will still come back in through the website. And then they'll I've got like who referred you, and they'll pop in their friend's name.
Yeah, so cool. I just think that's amazing. Like, I'm a little bit speechless, because I think that's where most people would want to get to in a business, is that you're so successful that people can't help but want to tell others about you. Yeah,
that's pretty special. I went to a workshop. I ran a workshop, sorry. It was like a month and a half ago. And so I just got to one of the clients who'd booked in from the workshop. And she was just telling me, and I got goosebumps, but she was telling me that she was so excited for her session. And since the workshop, she's just been telling everyone, and she's a beauty therapist, right? So if you think about how many people she's telling a day, and I've just had 2 people book in from her. Yeah. So
it's like you never really know where your next client is coming from, do you?
You don't. And I think that's part of it, is you just got to show up, be yourself, and show so much kindness and love to everyone, like before you catch up with them. I think, especially since I went through that rough patch with my business and I thought I was going to quit, now every time before I catch up with a client, I kind of have a bit more of a ritual to get myself in the right mindset so that I can impart knowledge and kindness and love and support to every single person before I go hang out with them and do their styling session. And I think for me, that's really helped as well.
That's so cool. Rituals are so important, I think, in business, particularly when you're on your own, because sometimes it can feel like if you're not motivating yourself, who is? There's no one to sort of bounce those ideas off of, or like say, what are you doing? Get back to your desk. It's like
Yeah.
from you. So I love that you've implemented that. And I know that Lauren like is big on those sorts of daily rituals as part of being, you know, a business owner and just coming back to you and serving others. So that's really cool. In terms of inspiration, and this might be more in terms of like, I guess, the content that you create on your socials, because they are fun and light, but also give you insight into you and your sense of humor and things like that. Where do you draw inspiration for those ideas to develop those concepts?
They kind of all come together. I watch probably too much reels and TikTok that I need to. I now have a cap on how long I'm allowed to scroll for, an alarm that goes off because it's bad, especially during lockdowns. It's really bad. But what usually happens is because like secret as well, when I was a kid, I was in the Australian youth choir. I was a bit of a singer, so I love music, and my mum's also a singer. So what happens is I'll usually watch reels. One of those songs will get stuck in my head and I'll be walking the dog, and then I'll just have like bang 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 how I want it to roll out. It's really bizarre. It's just like this creative that comes in. And that's it. And I remember one of them came in, I was in the shower actually, and I had this song looping around in my head. And then the idea popped in, and I think that one got like 600,000 views. Bang.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I must say that, you know, shower thoughts are actually so good for inspiration. Some people like, yeah, like some people can sit there and meditate with their eyes closed on the floor for 20 minutes. For me, it's like, that's your time to sort of switch off and
yeah,
great ideas. That or walking the dog is a great one as well.
Yeah, I'll usually, if I have a really good idea in the shower, I'm usually yelling at my husband to like quickly write this down before I lose it. I need something to write on in the shower.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's too funny. But what's next for Jessie Jolly Styling?
So I've got an event coming up in a shopping centre, which is so exciting. And I got asked to do this one, and I feel like that's a new exciting challenge for me and a really good chance for me to showcase a bit more of my workshop presenting, speaking skills alongside how I style people while they're in the workshop slash shopping centre. But look, I think in this next year, I really want to get more into workshops. I did my first one just a couple of months ago, like I said. And I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong, but it was perfect anyway. And I think that was a really beautiful way to connect people in together. And the way that it rolled as well, it was just beautiful. I loved that not only was I showing others how that they can look and feel really good about themselves, but this vibe got created, and it's almost like everyone was initially like this and all standoffish, and by the end of it they'd all come together and really connected and formed friendships and support, and I loved seeing that.
Yeah, that's powerful. It shows that you've got the impact to actually create your own community.
Yeah, it was really nice. So I want to be able to balance that with the personal styling. I don't know, maybe I need to clone myself next year.
Yeah, it can sometimes feel that way, can't it? Like there's too much work.
Yeah, too many things I want to do. Yeah,
love that. Well done on all your success, and best of luck with all those future projects. And thank you so much for sharing your story today and some of those personal insights. I know that will really connect with anyone who watches this, and I'm just really grateful that we could have this time together. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for whoever asked for me to be on. It's very sweet.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too, Claire. See ya.